Okay, this video is going to be kind of Weequay flavoured. So last week I showed a tri-logo AFA U85 Weequay. So now I'm going to focus on the freeze frame US card, which I just picked up today. I've got the vintage figure. I also recently picked up a loose graded U85 Weequay. So I'm going to compare those and show you the vintage figure. So this is the original vintage figure. This one's from my childhood, and it's a no coup version or variant. So that means it's got no current country of origin marked on the bottom of the figure. And the loose version I just bought is the same no coup, but there are differences if you look carefully. See, the brown on this is a more greyish brown. This is a lot flatter. But we'll look at that later. The main thing I want to show is the freeze frames. Okay, so out of the Power of the Force line, one of the most valuable of the newer figures, even though this is now 20 odd years old, is the freeze frame US carded Weequay. And this is the US card. Last year I bought the Canadian carded version, or the trilingual card. And even on eBay, if you look on the trilingual or type in a freeze frame Weequay, this one's rising in price as well, even though this one's not so scarce. It's the US version you want, but that can be pretty pricey. So it's Kenner collection. This one's got 3 logos there, hence the name trilingual. You've got French, English and Spanish, whereas this has just got the single Power of the Force. So we'll look at the Canadian first, and then we'll look at the American. The Canadian's got 3 language sticker there, and then there's freeze frame there, which is the same as on the US card. So freeze frame action slide, and then English and French and perhaps Spanish underneath. The Canadian Weequay comes with like paperwork with the figure. So you've got an offer for a couple of Star Wars things at the time, maybe the fan club or something like that. But most Canadian freeze frames have this paperwork at the back. Collection 3. I mean, this figure had been released before, and what makes it scarce is that it just didn't have much wide distribution on the US card, and so people that want to collect all the freeze frame, this card is kind of hard to find, hence it's risen in price. And now because this one's so difficult to get, this one's on the rise a little bit. Great looking figure. It's got a good face sculpt, a little bit of muscularization, but nothing too bad for Power of the Force 2. Comes with a blaster and a force pike. It's got some nice detailing on the figure. Not as good as the vintage collection version, but still not bad for its time. 20-year-old figure now. Comes with a freeze frame, which if you hold up to the light shows you a scene from Return of the Jedi. Quite nice. Quite a nice looking card, really. The collection Kenner. It's got a Darth Vader there, die cut card. And it's quite a highly sought figure now. This is the back of the Canadian card. So Canadian's going to have a lot more writing. It's got a few creases on it, but you know. And then this is the back of the US card. It's more or less the same, it's just the amount of writing the Canadian card has compared to the US card. So 1997. These are the 2 card backs. Look great. Great image of Weequay there. So that's the US back. And this is the Canadian back. So get back to the Canadian. So, really nice looking card, the Canadian. And if you don't want to spend a fortune on the US card, this isn't bad. You just got to be patient and try and wait. I got this one for under £25 sterling. So it's a nice looking figure. Nice. So that's the Canadian cards, which I did a review about a year ago. I also did a review of the long photo European version. So in Europe they didn't come with a freeze frame, they just came with a long photograph. And I've done a review of that. So now we're going to look at the US version. And this was delivered on Tuesday, but they took it back to the post office and they never left the card, so I've been getting stressed out and worried about it. And then the guy on eBay said go there and you'll pick it up. So this is AFA graded 75, and this is about the lowest grade you're going to find for a graded Weequay. Most of them are 85s, a few 90s, a couple of 95s, and some 80s. But the higher grades you're going to pay a lot more. 1997 Kenner Star Wars Power of the Force freeze frame Weequay. Card gets 75, bubble 85, figure 85. So it's the card that lets this figure down, and you can see there's in the top corner there's a crease there, and just there as well there's a little bit of crease, and there's a slight edge wear around the card. But I mean, you could get the same ungraded for the same price what I paid for this, so I'm not going to complain. Just to have a US carded Weequay is a nice thing to have. So this is one of the sort of, I guess he's a bit like, if you took the vintage line, Yak Face, this would be sort of similar to that. And this would be like the US version, I mean the Canadian version, the Power of the Force version, and the Canadian would be like the European version, the tri-logo version of Yak Face. So this is the version everyone wants. Cool looking figure. Power of the Force, Kenner collection. Freeze frame action slide. It's got the same image as the Canadian. So pretty cool. And then the back of the card shows you Luke Skywalker just before he jumps off and does the flip and catches the lightsaber. There's a little bit of mark there as well. That might be the case though, AFA case. But we've got the figures of the time. Proof of purchase, 1997. So this is a US card. A cool looking figure. The Kenner's collection Weequay. So this is something you might consider wanting to get if you're a modern collector and you want to get into Holy Grails. The US carded Weequay, the Luke Transition Saber, Farm Boy from 95. Those are sort of Holy Grails. I've reviewed the Luke Transition Farm Boy, and then there's this one. I'm saying a year ago, but it's probably more like 2 years ago. It's a cool figure though. Okay, so that's the US carded Weequay skiff guard. Now we're going to look at the vintage one I picked up. So this is the vintage one I picked up. Comes with the staff, grey staff. U85 1983 Kenner Star Wars loose action figure Weequay, no country of origin. U85 near mint. So you can see on that leg there's no markings of country of origin. And it's very similar to the one I've got from childhood. So you have to look really carefully to see any differences. So this paint is a bit darker on this one. The head looks a bit redder on my one. Slightly redder, but I mean, you're going to be really finicky to find major differences between these two figures. Great figure. What I liked about this as a child, or as my continuing childhood, is that he could hold the force pike like that. I mean, for the time he wasn't a bad looking figure. First wave of Return of the Jedi figures released in 1983. So quite a nice looking figure. And yeah, nice. It's got a turnable head, shoulders, hips. Quite a nice head sculpt. Great looking figure. Best version of Weequay is the vintage collection. I think he's VC107. That's the Weequay you want to get. But it all depends. I mean, if you wanted to get the holy grail of Weequays, then it's this version, which is the US carded version. And I've got, in terms of the vintage figure, I've got him on the Return of Jedi 77 back, graded AFA 75, and I showed you the UKG one, graded 780 last week. I'll see if I can add that video to this, because I've saved it still, but we'll see. Okay, so that's the Weequay I picked up maybe at the beginning of this month or end of last month. Nice looking figure. No coup. Nice looking figure, and then you can compare the two, the vintage and the modern, or powder force. So this is from 83, this is from 96, 97. Cool looking figures. Okay, so final look at this US carded Weequay. Great looking figure from a long time ago. You can see that's what gave it the 75. Freeze frame action figure. Nice looking figure. Collection of 3. AFA 75. I think the population's about 87 of these are graded. So you can, but I mean, most people, if they got one of these, would send it in for grading. Great looking figure. So US carded Weequay. And then one last look at the back. Great looking figure, Weequay, US carded. Nice item. Alright, cheers, bye.